On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. We have a huge show. Probably going to offend a bunch of people today. Today's an interesting show, not just because of what I say, though that's likely going to happen, especially in the case of this knucklehead, this guy up here. Someone had informed me that this guy has got a special needs child. Was implying, it seemed anyways, that I should stop calling him a retard. But that, because that's his son, I guess. And I'm like, well, no, it's, in my mind anyways, his son's special needs. This dude's retarded. Big difference. So anyways, whatever the case is, bound to offend. Not on purpose, but sometimes I do run headlong into it. You know how, like, when people run across the finish line and they put their arms out, like whatever reason, like somehow put your chest out for, I don't know what the point is per se, victory. That said, I'm running headlong into it. Yeah, got a lot to talk about, a lot to share, and some very funny stuff. This is a great story JD Vance shared, and I want to start here because we're going to start with some fun stuff and then move into, well, a lot of good stuff. Check it out.
Now, I want to talk about Sly and all of his great accomplishments and why we're gathered here to celebrate him, but I want to first say, people often ask me what it's like to be the Vice President of the United States. And a lot of it is exactly what you would expect it to look like if you watched on TV or just paid attention to the media. But sometimes you get these behind-the-scenes moments that I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. So, for example, today I'm in the Oval Office with the President of the United States and our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and we're talking about something really, really important. And the President kind of holds up his hand and says, no, hold on a second. There's something much more important. Shoes. And he peers over the Resolute desk and he says, Marco, JD, you guys have shitty shoes. we gotta get to better shoes. So he goes out and grabs a catalog. There happens to be another politician in the room. I won't say who, and you'll find out why in a second. And he actually runs us through this incredible shoe catalog. And by the way, the President is gifting us with 4 pairs of shoes. And I think 4 pairs for Marco. And he's actually asking our size in the middle of this conversation. He's asking for our size so that he can make sure that we get the right shoes. And he asked this other politician, he said, I'm going to get you some shoes too. And so he says, Marco, what's your shoe size? And Marco's apparently an 11.5. He says, JD, what's your shoe size? My shoe size is 13. And he asked this politician, who I won't embarrass, what his shoe size is, and he says 7. The President, he kind of leans back in his chair and says, you can tell a lot about a man by his shoe size. We won't ask the second lady for comment on that particular topic. I want to talk.
That's funny as hell. So again, yes, we've got, I think, one more here. Of course, Village People literally performing for President Trump. You got to love this. Only in America. Yeah, I got it at 1.1 speed. There is a song I'm going to be playing, and I'll slow it down then. But at this point, no, we're going to keep it at 1.1 because I got enough video to share. Magnitude 7.0 earthquake hits a remote wilderness area along the Alaska-Canadian border over there in the Yukon area. No threats of tsunami or anything like that, but big earthquake. A bunch of animals were probably upset, a bunch of polar bears and maybe Santa Claus. I don't think Santa Claus lives quite over there, but, getting close. So the sun's doing some crazy stuff again. It just burped today, and we'll let my friend Ben Davidson explain what's up.
Good morning, folks. Welcome, observers. Today we have just one story. We've kind of been discussing it for a few days, and it's been amazing to watch the discussions flow over just the last 2 days. After saying we were so close to them leaking the facts and that we were one auroral event away from a major global wake-up here 48 hours later, they have given the mega hint with the Airbus jets, and in about 2 more days, we may have that auroral event. Central region in eruptive phase on the north. Doesn't even matter if the big spots on the south stay silent, which they are. The northern group has taken over the entirety of the flaring and eruptive behavior. Last night, it was a low-level M-class event followed by an M8 blast. It was obvious from the initial moments that plasma was moving, CME production signals at every frame, and coronagraphs did not take long to show a full halo coronal mass ejection, a direct blast at the Earth. Probably one of the easier CME impact predictions you're going to get with an isolated acute eruptive event taking that full halo, and NOAA's Enlil spiral was updated overnight. Apparently it was blunts and binary last night in Boulder. CME direct hit expected in 2 days on the 9th. They're forecasting a G3 event, KP7 solar storm conditions. That may not be enough to cause another worldwide auroral stir, which would be what's needed for everyone to start asking why it's happening so often, but it might. And if the sun launches anything else our way, a 1-2 punch has tripled the chances of creating those bigger auroral events. We are in full-scale space weather monitoring mode right now, and to recap, folks.
And he does call out, like, when he gives the better view of this, when you can see the actual sunspots. Does he not show them? I guess not. Yeah, the ones that are coming in, I thought he showed it for a second, but the ones that are coming in, they're still along the bottom. If those are huge. If those fire off, they're, and that one above it is ta-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. So we could very easily get a 1-2 punch, and we'll be keeping tabs on this over the next few days. Just to remind everybody, here's Joe Biden and what they supported, and again, of course, hypocrites can change their opinions on a whim. It doesn't need to ever make sense. They don't need to agree with themselves ever. It's the joy of dealing with people that just want to control you versus people that believe in freedom and laws and rights and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a strange difference. But whatever the case is, here's Joe Biden of long ago.
Every president for the past 2 decades, Democrat and Republican alike, has declared war on drugs. And each of them has lost that war and lost it miserably. They lost because they attempted to deal with only part of the drug problem. They lost because their initiatives were pulled apart by bureaucratic squabbling among their advisors. They lost because they always did too little and they did it too late. We don't oppose the president's plan. All we want to do is strengthen it. We don't doubt his resolve. All we want to do is stiffen it. The trouble is that the president's proposals are not big enough to deal with the problem. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. We have to lock up the dealers for a long, long time, and we have to attack the source from which the drugs come. And we have to do that not a piece at a time, but all at once. And we have to do it now. And there's not any reason why we can't do that. We have the power, we have the money, and we have the knowledge.
I mean, they're pro-killing Russians all day long. They'll do that all day long. But try to take down a narco-terrorist, try to take down one of these horrible people, running into a whole different situation. I was talking to some good friends that are Hispanic yesterday, and I've known these guys, and we kind of got into politics a little bit, which we knew would be tough waters anyway. But I was asking them about Claudia Sheinbaum, and they're like, oh, without a doubt, she's tied in with the narco-terrorists. She is definitely bought and paid for. So I was kind of wondering if she was someone that was there to try to help. I didn't think so because of her last name, but I come to find out, yeah, they don't have any faith in her. And I was even talking about the mayor that was killed. So we've got something. They don't necessarily maybe approve of us going in and doing what we're going to likely do, but they don't like the idea of these terrorists running the country the way they do, and it's causing all sorts of problems. Kristi Noem says U.S. travel ban is going to expand over 30 countries. They are adding a bunch. They're going to release, I believe, some of that this week. But we're going to be hearing some dribbles and drabbles of the additional countries. But she's like, yeah, I think the list is already over 30, basically. So, yeah, here we go. She's not giving a specific number, but says it's larger than 30. There you go. Is it bigger than a breadbasket? Okay, then. Well, I guess that's what we know. Nonetheless, Tom Homan, he's announcing 62,000 migrant children that went missing under Joe Biden are at least now found.
I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
I love this guy, Tom Homan. You're a rock star. I love Trump's administration. Illegal immigrants been charged in another Charlotte train stabbing after Ukrainian refugees killing. This is individual's apparently been busted before, but he just attacked another lady. He's been charged with attempted first-degree murder. Oscar Solarzano, 33, allegedly stabbed a male victim Friday night who was found where the train appeared to have stopped between stations, but is now in stable condition. So he didn't kill him, I guess. Attempted murder, right? Yeah, so they're happening again. Charlotte's got a bit of a problem, it seems. Joan of Arc posted, or Joan of America, I guess, posted this. Joan QF America? Whatever. It's hard to read. Appeals Court lets Trump fire Democratic appointees at agencies. There you go. Trump is allowed to fire, and we'll see. That's going to get probably appealed by whoever's doing the lawsuit. But for now, he is allowed to fire these people at agencies. HHS changed the name of the previous health leader on her official portrait because they feel they should be honest internally and externally. So they changed the name of Adam Levine to Adam's proper name, the Admiral's proper name, which I don't know if they put it in here or not, but yeah, it's pretty gnarly. NPR's, of course, sharing that story, which is hilarious. Here's Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking about this idea that he was intentionally just trying to kill the people on the boat. This is just insane, and it's an absurdity, and they do a great job explaining it in like 40 seconds.
We're reviewing that right now. Did you at any time say that everybody on board should be killed?
Is anybody here from the Washington Post? I don't know where you get your sources, but they suck. Of course not. Anybody that's been in the Situation Room or they've been in the war room there, the Secretary's office, no, you don't walk in and say, kill him. It's just patently ridiculous. It's meant to create a cartoon of me and the decisions that we make and how we make them. It's ridiculous. The chairman and Admiral Bradley and everybody shot it down immediately because anybody that knows that's not how things go. There's a very defined process, specific criteria, go, no go, yes, no, lawyers, intel analysts, everything. And then after that, you simply say, cleared hot or not.
And
so,
did you have a plan to deal?
Yeah, cleared hot or not. That's it. None of that other stuff. And there was a mission to be carried out. That was one of the things one of the guys brought up yesterday that I thought was strange. They're like, well, I don't know why Pete Hegseth, you'd think he would have stayed in there to find out what happened. I'm like, I could totally understand why the dude has things to do and doesn't have 2 hours to sit around and wait till the smoke clears, if you will. But again, it's the brainwashing, so I don't waste any of my time trying to fight it. Here's Kash Patel. He sat down with Laura Trump and laid out where we stand with the process of holding people accountable for this whole Russiagate and Arctic frost stuff. And so we are making progress. There is a story somewhere. I kind of lost a story somewhere, a couple of them maybe, but at least one. It's going to show up when it does. But there is some James Comey news that came out that was a little bad, but then also some other news that came out where it's almost like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter. So again, what's being played out before us, a lot of it's meant to deflate us specifically. Information's put out and then people share it, but a lot of times that's why to me so critical to see who the sources are. If it's alleged sources, like they often do, anonymous and stuff like that, for sure. If the story's coming from Axios, Politico, almost guarantee 1 out of 100 stories from them will be accurate. So just disregard. I'll look to see, like if it's something where it's a leak, like Trump talked to Ukraine about something and then Axios finds out. Well, yeah, Ukraine would leak it for sure. And Axios would be one of the places they do it. But again, we got to get good at this. All that said, the process is happening. People are getting shaken down, and we will, I believe, see arrests. I'm not going to promise when and how and who. I think the timing of it is meant to be perfect. I think it's meant to tie in with the elections. A lot of this is going to build and build and build. I think there's a lot of this we want to give enough rope to the Dems right now to wrap it around their neck and go running off with it. And then at some point, we just give a quick tug because that's it. End of the line is there. And so this is going to be this should be biblical. I mean, like a lot are saying, it's going to be beautiful. We're bringing their whole house of cards down, this whole diseased temple. And how many quotes do we got? There's a bunch of them that are floating around out there. But all said, Kash Patel, I think, is doing an admirable job. Certainly, I think he's. I'm proud of him. Proud of him and Dan Bongino very much.
What we're doing, especially with our deep knowledge of what happened in Russiagate, is two things on a parallel track. Congress, oversight. I'm committed and wed to congressional oversight. My predecessors turned over Comey 3,000 pages to Congress in his 3 years and change, and Chris Wray turned over 13,000 in his almost 7 years. In my 9 months, we've turned over 40,000 pages of material to Congress, not just Russiagate, Arctic Frost, but so many other things that they're interested in. We're going to continue doing that because I believe, as a senior staffer on the Hill, that's the best way to expose the information to the public and say, here, you read it, and you tell us what your feedback is. In this very building, there were rooms that were hidden away from the map site of the building, and nobody had access into them. And once we got into those rooms, we found more information related to the Russiagate hoax from prior FBI leadership. Information that was in burn bags that they wanted to have destroyed, but for whatever reason, no one ever got around to it, or they thought we would just never find it. So we have multiple teams. We've built squads for both Russiagate and Arctic Frost, and we are using the grand jury process, and we are issuing, I think we're up to like 75 or 100 subpoenas already for witnesses. That's what you target first. We also have targets of our investigation, people we think committed acts of criminal conduct. And this, in my opinion, is why the media is going so hog wild over the Comey prosecution, right? Notice how they're not attacking the evidence. They're just saying, oh, so-and-so was improperly appointed. That, to me, shows me we're over the target. That was just step one.
So you still have open investigations into these people. You're still looking into what ultimately happened with them. So do you think we'll see more come out of this?
What I try to remind the American public of is the people that built this weaponization of justice and intelligence and law enforcement and its politicization, they built this disease temple. It took them like 10 years. We've been in the seat 9 months, and we've already ripped open the Band-Aid and showed the world how they illegally surveilled on members of Congress, senators and House members, and staffers like myself on top of Russiagate. So we are not only exposing what they did, but they are frantically, the media, the mainstream media, and those that were involved in the weaponization of justice are trying to cover it up by dousing water on our investigation. Do you think that's going to stop me and the deputy here? We're going to get there. We're already halfway there on a lot of it. I firmly believe that this Comey case is far from over. We are not finished. We are formulating a plan to make sure that we actually use the Constitution to hold people accountable and don't let the mainstream media drive another form of weaponization of justice. These people will not be let off the hook.
I think the words that all of us want to hear, right? I think all of us want to hear that. Congress, how can they strike back against these foreign censors, right? We've got a bunch of this nonsense going on. Apparently there was a bill passed in Wyoming. They're trying to spread it to a new state. I think Carolinas or one of the North Carolina, New Hampshire. But this would essentially make it illegal for companies outside or foreign governments to interact with a business or sue a business for breach of like censorship and stuff like that. Long story short, basically creating a law that keeps Europe or other countries from being able to sue companies here in the United States. It's interesting. First off, the two states, or the one state that has it, and then the other one that's going to get it. I don't know who that helps. I'd be curious which major businesses are licensed in New Hampshire, for example. X, I believe, was in Delaware. I think they tried to move it to Texas. I don't know if that's been done yet or not, but all said, yeah, they can still be sued, and they have. So Europe has gone after them, and this is just an article that talks about how Congress could actually pass something. I think it's absurd, and personally, I hope you guys agree, but I think it's absurd that Europe could actually fine X for allowing Americans to say things, right? Like, it's one thing if they want to have certain citizens on their part, like, you got to delete what this guy said or whatever. It sucks, but to be able to try to silence Americans or to fine them for our misinformation, as they're quoting, calling it, it's just asinine in my mind. So interestingly, Nikita Bear is an individual, I think, that works at X. And the European Commission, when they made this announcement that they were going to be doing these fines, they apparently shared from a ad account that they had, and they were doing something that was not considered legal in X. When you have an ad account, I believe you cannot share it on a non-ad account to try to get more reach. It's a kind of a way of cheating the advertising money. So they're essentially trying to cheat X out of advertising dollars, breaking the rules, and at the same time suing X for not censoring people. So this Nikita Bear guy says, the irony of your announcement. You logged into your dormant ad account to take advantage of an exploit in our ad composer to post a link that deceives users into thinking it's a video and to artificially increase its reach. As you may be aware, X believes everyone should have an equal voice on our platform. However, it seems that you believe that the rules should not apply to your accounts. Your ad account has been terminated. So there is some fighting back going on. Again, I don't fully understand what this little exploit that they took advantage of. Maybe some of you guys know it better. I love Healthy Home and incredible products. One of the things that I love about them specifically is the STEM Active. This helps your healing abilities in your bodies, and certainly as we age, our bodies are constantly being bombarded by all sorts of things, not to mention like the Wi-Fi and all the crazy crap that we got floating around us, right? There's a lot of energy, 5G and all this stupid stuff. We're getting damage done all the time. Stem cells repair damage. They're cells that can become any cell in the body. So we get hurt all over the place. You got lung, I had a bad cold and you coughed really hard. Maybe you did some damage and a couple of your lung cells took it for the team, right? Well, stem cells will go in there and become lung cells and everything's good and groovy. Well, as we age, this production of these cells starts to diminish and decrease. That's kind of where you can tell when people are starting to lose the battle in life. They start to hunch over and things. It's a bad sign. I had a shoulder issue. It was hurting when I was working out. Started taking the STEM Active within about 3-4 weeks. I was literally no pain at all. I wasn't feeling pain at all. My shoulder was good. I've dislocated this shoulder. I'm not going to go into a batting cage and dislocate it again because I know how extremely painful it is. But the pain I was feeling from working out is gone. And what it does is it causes your body to produce more stem cells. Just period. Right there. End of story. And that helps you heal better. It doesn't put stem cells in you because generally that comes from fetal cells and it's kind of nasty. But get your body with plant-based stuff, very healthy. Within really minutes of taking the product, your body starts to create more stem cells. It is major. We've also got it for pets, by the way. It's about half the price that you'd pay for us humans. But it does the same thing for your pets. It's a chewable tablet. Pretty awesome. But this is the pill. You get two. You take 2 of them a day. This is like a gel stuff. It's like a liquid. You can do that too if you prefer. There's 1 pack a day you do. It's already liquid, so it probably absorbs a little faster, but these are those gel caps, so I don't think there's that big a difference. But that stem cells, big deal. Also, ladies that are going through the change in life, the baby change, basically, right? I don't know, menopause. Like I feel weird when I say that word, 'cause it's like I really don't know anything about it other than some stuff that people have explained to me and what I've read. But 2 ladies, one of them was taking the synthetic hormones, started using the balance, felt better, just felt even better. She was liking the synthetic hormones. They were kind of working, but not totally, right? Balance kind of really just filled in all the missing pieces. So she was doing both, no big problem, right? Just noticed that she felt better. The other lady said she was taking the synthetic hormones, didn't like them. They actually didn't work for her, made her feel weird, whatever the case was, right? And probably didn't like that they're synthetic hormones because there's some weirdness to that. She started taking the balance and just felt better. Felt better with the mood swings, the hot flashes, the emotions just out of control. This is 14-based, plant-based ingredients. There's no synthetic hormones in this product. It's a transdermal lotion. They call it clicks. 1, 2, 3 clicks, right? And the clicks, and it's like how much goo comes out. It's lotion or whatever. I call it goo. And you just rub them on your thing like that, boom, and then it absorbs through that. A lot of blood flow through here. And ladies are just noticing a difference almost immediately once they do this. It's like, wow, And so a lot of people are raving about it. I highly recommend it. It's bringing balance back to their lives. Pretty incredible. Also, Amaze will do that, exactly. If you got sagging skin, sore muscle, especially you guys out there that are doing some of the weight loss products that I promote right now, sagging skin, you probably want to make sure you're helping that as much as you can. Collagen's the protein that binds us all, man. It's the most important protein in our body. This is a collagen peptide. It's not a powder. It's liquid already. And peptide means it's the smallest little ingredients, right? So your body absorbs it quickly. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody that's selling any of the products. This one is superior by far, but if it's a powder and they're saying it's a peptide, well, the collagen part might be, but however it's somehow into that powder, they've noticed with those powders that it's actually created sort of a coating in the stomach in a lot of cases. So again, just something to keep in mind. This doesn't. It's a liquid. It goes in as a liquid. It's a peptide already in liquid form. It's almost immediately absorbed, and within a minute or two is absorbed within the body. Perfect. You don't have this powder that's got to get dissolved. So just something to keep in mind. This Amaze is a fantastic product. Helps with your, again, sore muscles, joint discomfort. It's helping even people with joint, like their arthritis and stuff like that, or even knees and stuff. Again, it's not going to necessarily bring back your cartilage per se, but that would be happening through collagen. If there was any sort of regeneration happening in your body, you're going to need collagen. It is so extraordinarily important. Lifeless hairs as well. It helps grow hair. So Amaze is a fantastic product. You will just be amazed. The skin, you'll notice. Prime is just, again, energy. It's a nitric oxide booster. It helps expand the amount of oxygen that you can get through your vessels. It just enhances oxygen, how much oxygen your blood can carry at one given time. It literally just works out to more energy. People that work out, this is an awesome one. It literally kicks in within a couple minutes. It's a powder. You put it on your mouth. It dissolves on your tongue. It's delicious, by the way. Mixed berry, very yummy. It also will not break, ketosis. And this stuff is awesome. It just helps get blood flow going. So Prime is very good. And again, STEM Active for pets. You, of course, would help if I had that up. You want to go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. You're going to love those products. You're going to love the way it makes you feel. And you're going to love the fact that you're focusing on being healthy. That's how you manifest health. You focus on healthy. You don't focus on, how do I not be sick? That's no. How do I be healthy? How do I maintain healthy? And that's what you're doing. Stem cells. You're doing that with your collagen. You're doing that you're making yourself as healthy as you can. And you're focusing in the right way. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com, or even Heal Thy Home, which is a fun way to look at it. But danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Make those healthy choices and you will start to see the amazing benefits. All right, we got some major misconduct that's going on. Of course, the Trump administration orders all beneficiaries of the largest DEI program to surrender their financial records. Apparently, the Small Business Administration has ordered all 4,300 firms in its 8A socially disadvantaged program, which receives no bid federal contracts, to turn over their financial records, including general ledgers, bank statements, payroll files, subcontracting agreements, and other internal documents by January 5th, or face removal from the program. They will obviously sue. Some district judge will probably try to make it so they can't do this. But this Small Business Administration, this is one of Washington's oldest DEI initiatives. And there's all these no-bid contracts. There's in fact, it was what's-his-face from James O'Keefe. It's one of the people that broke this. And there's all these people that are making millions of dollars. Like, they're getting paid $100 million to make some sort of wonderful thing happen in the world. Literally, they're taking in $60 million in profit to themselves, and $40 million actually went to helping what they do. And some people are taking advantage of it far worse. There is so much fraud and abuse going on. And that was probably why they tried to make Doge stop for the most part, because they were finding way too much. They didn't realize. They're like, you can't find it. It's hidden. And they're like, nah, we found almost all of it right off the bat, like 80% of it off the bat. 21 states are at risk of losing SNAP funding amid fraud investigation. This is, I think I've got a video of her chatting about this in particular. But the number of dead people, the billions of dollars that are at stake, a bunch of states aren't giving the information yet, and they're at risk of losing the funds. They even talk about the percentages that states are allowed to take as administrative costs, and they are pretty crazy, in fact, the amount of money. There's just so much, again, waste and abuse. This would be, again, another situation where the federal government should be giving the SNAP money directly to the recipients, make them refile for it, and then send them a card from the federal government, take the state out of it entirely. And then they could go a lot further, because, again, states have been abusing this forever. And there's, again, so much fraud and abuse in these states, our states, my state. So she's calling out 21 states are at risk of literally losing their SNAP funding if they don't give up the information. Now, again, district court's going to obviously say they can't do this. That will be appealed. The process is going. That's kind of why I worry about the election stuff. Like, it's like, how I feel like we need a lot of runway, but I'm going to let that happen how it happens. New York City Mayor Adams, he's blocking city funds from anti-Israeli BDS movement amid this Mamdani clash. Now, he did 2 executive orders. Mamdani can undo those the second he gets in office. I think the point of doing this was to make Mamdani do that, because there's a lot of Jewish people that live in New York. They need to know their mayor is anti-New York. So, see, outgoing mayor signed 2 executive orders Wednesday barring city funds from supporting the anti-Israeli BDS movement, including pension investment discriminating against Israel, a direct challenge to incoming mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who does back this BDS stuff. The second order directs the NYPD to bolster protections for synagogues and faith communities against harassment, which is obviously not popular either. So we'll see what happens in New York. All right, let's get into the fun of Mr. Walls. This guy's so, well, he's retarded. I mean, he is. It's one thing to be special needs. That's sad. I mean, these kids, the things they got to go through, the people, even as they get older. But retarded people like him, just in the way. But, yeah. They want to roll out leave, taxpayer-funded leave for either your health, meaning you're sick for an extended period of time, or full payment if you've got a family member that's sick full-time that you have to take care of them and so thusly leave your work. They want taxpayer-funded out-of-pocket so those people can do that. Now, the Somali community is going to take advantage of this, as well as everyone else. They specifically added undocumented workers, youth workers, and new workers are also covered. Minnesota, you guys are just giving away money left, right, and center. It's all Tim Walz. Dude's retarded. Illegal alien Somali fraudster posed with top Minnesota Democrats before his arrest. This guy, he's a convicted fraudster who was seen in these photos getting cozy with all the Dems, or the Dems for sure, but all the Minnesota people. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement nabbed Abdul Dahir Ibrahim and placed him inside of the McCook ICE facility in Nebraska. The outlet then detailed his criminal background, including an arrest for providing false information to law enforcement, driving without a valid license in Minnesota, and numerous parking and traffic violations. Like, bummer for him, but yeah, dude, you can't be breaking all these laws, man. Sorry. You were here out of the good graces of our heart. You're going back. Peace. Minneapolis police chief warns officers they'll be fired if they do not stop ICE's unlawful force. Now, this is, again, one of those things where you got all these people trying to do this color revolution, and this is another example of it, really, where you've got, people in Congress and whatnot trying to tell soldiers that they better not follow illegal orders, make them worry about that so they won't do things. Well, now Minneapolis police chief has issued a stern warning to his officers amid ICE raids. Intervene when you see ICE agents using unlawful force or get fired. What's unlawful force? If he's taking down somebody in some way that you guys don't necessarily think's okay, that's not really your place to decide on their tactics. You don't get to decide that. And if you, as a police chief, give the order to have officers try to arrest federal officers, now we've got a constitutional crisis. So we've literally got a police chief that's trying to cause one of the national things that will explode into riots across the country. So one guy's trying to do it. If he can get one of his cops to shoot a federal officer or something, all hell will break loose. Or break out, I think Trump has said before. Weird phrase of that. Ilhan Omar, she might very well be done. We'll see. Hopefully they deport her, frankly, in my opinion. But Here's an interesting little 20 seconds on Fox News.
Well, now investigators are tracking the web of fraud to other Minnesota Democrats, such as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Many of the suspects linked to the scheme live in her district, including a restaurant owner who hosted events for her. He has since been convicted of stealing $12 million in COVID funds.
Well, that's not a problem, is it, Minnesota? Good job. Now, again, I should try to fix this here.
Well, now investigators are tracking the web of fraud to other Minnesota Democrats.
There we go. I didn't want to mess up the song. Didn't want to mess up the song, people. Sorry. Kind of crazy, but this is why. I hope this doesn't offend.
Hail, retard.
Well, there you go. There you go. Right? He is the most retarded governor of them all. J.D. Vance nailing it here when he's talking about you can't have a country where basically you've got judges telling you what you can and can't do, especially when it comes to stuff like immigration enforcement. He nails it.
You cannot have a country where the American people keep on electing immigration enforcement and the courts tell the American people they're not allowed to have what they voted for. And that's where we are right now. We're going to keep working it through the immigration court process, through the Supreme Court as much as possible. And look, success to me is not so much a number, though obviously I'd love to see the gross majority of the illegal immigrants who came in under Biden deported. That actually is a secondary metric of success. Success to me is that we have established a set of rules and principles that the courts are comfortable with and that we have the infrastructure to do that allows us to deport large numbers of illegal aliens when large numbers of illegal aliens come into the country. That to me is real success. You cannot.
Yeah, we certainly need to get ourselves moving in that direction. Now, Stephen Miller posted this. Of all the destructive and ruinous policies aimed at the heart of our republic, few can compete with birthright citizenship. Every illegal alien, foreign visitor, and visa scammer, merely by giving birth on U.S. soil, can access unlimited welfare for life through their American child and send the extra cash back home to support their foreign village. That same child is granted full voting privileges upon his 18th birthday, making illegal aliens and their descendants one of the largest voting blocs in the United States. Birthright citizenship is an atrocity flatly and flagrantly incompatible with any concept of nationhood. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Oh, this is one thing I misappropriated. Whoops. Oh, well, still funny. It was someone that posted a line of cars, and they said people waiting to get their turn to call Tim Waltz retarded. Sorry, that's still funny to me. Anyway, Assistant Attorney General. I told you guys I had this video. I thought I did again. I had a hard time finding stories today. It was whatever. It is what it is. But this she's talking about the voting rolls right now. Yeah, it's a different story altogether. I did good. I did it properly. I just didn't realize it. I was combining them in my head. All said. We got to rolling this out. This is fantastic. But 47.5 million voter records that they've checked so far. And there's a lot that's going to be happening and is happening, and states that haven't responded. So again, this is a big, big story. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, and I'm here to share an important update about one of my many important duties here at the DOJ, which is enforcing our federal election laws. Here's some facts and figures for you. In the last 8 months, the DOJ has reached out to all 50 states, asking them to share their voter rolls with us so that we can help them comply with the Help America Vote Act, which requires states to maintain clean voter rolls. 4 states complied voluntarily. We sued North Carolina early on, and they are checking the voter records of 100,000 voters who were improperly enrolled on their voter rolls, and they're going to fix their problem voluntarily. We have an agreement in place almost with another dozen states, and I expect very soon we'll be looking at their voter data and comparing it with our records and helping them clean up those voter rolls. Now we have 15 lawsuits pending against 14 states. That's right, California got sued twice, and we are in litigation with them. They're refusing to provide their records, even though many of these states voluntarily provide their voter rolls to nonprofit groups like ERIC and even other groups. And so we are going to make sure that we get to the bottom of those, and then we're going to get to the rest of the states. So we're engaged with nearly 30 states Here's what we found so far. We've checked 47.5 million voter records. We've found 260,000 plus dead people enrolled in the state's voter rolls, which is pretty concerning. They're going to be removed with the help of the DOJ. And finally, that there are several thousand non-citizens who are enrolled to vote in federal elections. This is very concerning, and the DOJ is partnering with local law enforcement where appropriate to prosecute people who have unlawfully voted in our elections. Even one person voting who shouldn't have voted is one too many, because every citizen is entitled to one person, one vote assumption that their vote is being counted equally and only with other American citizens. We will not rest at this DOJ with the leadership of the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, until we complete this project and provide confidence to all American voters that the rolls are clean and the elections are free and fair. Thanks so much.
Exactly. So we are trying to clean my glasses, man. I'm having issues. We got a lot of ferocities going on right now, and this is concerning. This is one of the places where I'm probably going to offend people. Well, I'm not personally, but I'm definitely letting opinions out that I think are very interesting and contrary to a big movement that's happening right now. Frankly, this movement's been bugging the crap out of me. I've sort of tap danced around it, but somebody's now saying it for me, and that makes me super happy. Now, what makes me very, very sad is that it is a very dangerous place where we find ourselves. Tim Pool normally wouldn't announce anything that he's doing. No offense, he just doesn't need my help, and I'm not really trying to get into his audience, if you will. But my immediate thought is someone was trying to scare us, he said. But we have a security gate and armed guards, and it's possible this deterred something more serious. But he said this was in response. Last night, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt. Our security team is reviewing the incident and will begin relaying the report to the appropriate law enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. Now, again, I know this dude's had all sorts of, he's been swatted a bunch of times. All sorts of people show up at his house. He's literally got armed security, but he's also extraordinarily successful. He's done a lot. And again, I'm not trying to, I don't know. He's all right. He's come along. I didn't like him a lot earlier on. Let's put it this way. I feel like he's come a lot more towards the center. So I like him more than I used to. But Kash Patel, and this is where we get into the part that I find very interesting right now. There is a lot of binary thinking. I dislike binary thinking, and there's people that get mad at me all the time for riding the center, you know. But my reason for doing it, for the most part, is because everyone is supposed to binarily think, meaning it's you got to be left or you got to be right. You've got to choose what everybody on our side thinks and agrees with. You got to say that's what you agree with, or you got to go with what the other side says, and that's what you agree with. You aren't allowed to sit in the middle and talk about how both sides have adequate or have decent things, or one side's kind of stupid and the other side's really stupid. Like, there's a better way to go, maybe. You're not supposed to do that. They want everybody into their camps. You got to go into your specific box and stay there. And I'm telling you, no. Get out of the boxes they keep shoving us into. Those are traps. The blame Israel for everything trap is exactly a trap. And it's odd to see who's doing it and how, but it's happening. So Kash Patel was asked by Megyn Kelly, and they had a conversation. I kind of read it, at least parts of it, and that part was cool, but I'm like, I want to watch this whole thing with you guys because I think you're going to enjoy it. And I'm going to kick the speed back up a little bit. But Kash Patel responds to Candace Owens' claims, death threats, and questions about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And this is from Kash Patel. Now, many are either going to say, well, I just don't believe Kash Patel, because, again, people have their own confirmation bias. They can't say, well, I like Kash Patel just yesterday. I thought he was doing a wonderful job. And then you see this video and you're like, oh, I don't like Kash Patel anymore. I trust Kash Patel. I trust that he's telling me. I pay attention to his word usage when he tells me stuff, because I know there's bigger things going on or investigations present. So the words matter, and not everybody's maybe as good at that. But that said, these are pretty blunt questions, and I feel his answers were equally. So I don't know. We'll see what you guys think.
Let me start with this, the most obvious. do you believe that we have the proper suspect in custody? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson is, in fact, the man who killed Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Do you believe he acted with the help of anyone else?
This investigation is being led by the Utah state authorities because it is a murder investigation. So the FBI is a supporting role in the investigative process. And so what we're doing is the same thing we did in the pipe bomb investigation. The investigation is ongoing for us. If there's any new leads or tips, we are exhausting them with search warrants and legal process. But at the same time, we are working with the prosecutors in Utah to make sure we don't screw up their investigation. Because again, the worst outcome would be if the guy that killed Charlie Kirk walks out of a United States courtroom in the state of Utah. And so it's a delicate balance again, but there is no way this FBI is going to stop that investigation until it reaches its all-conclusive endpoint.
Do you believe any foreign government had a role in his assassination?
At this time, the FBI doesn't have credible information to connect any foreign governments to it. But as I said, we are continuing to take investigative leads. We're not done. Just because we arrest someone, just like in the pipe bomber case, we don't just say, okay, we're done, on to the next. The investigative team continues to work with the Utah authorities, and they're deriving their own leads and coming back to us and say, hey, can you look at this piece of information? Can we get a search warrant on this account? What about this individual who is located in X, Y, or Z? We're tracking all that down.
Do you have any credible reason to believe that anyone connected with the Turning Point organization had anything to do with Charlie's death?
Zero.
On the subject, there's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
So we are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened, we are, of course, looking at it.
I can verify that myself because we've received some very dark things here at our show, and you guys have always been very responsive in looking hard at the people who send them. Can I ask you, Cash, the text messages between Tyler Robinson and his roommate Lance Twiggs, the reason a lot of people think Tyler didn't do it is because they sound kind of fake. You know, the wording just sounds a little strange. Like, I thought they caught the person, I don't know. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. They go on from there. Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred, and so on. Do you have any reason to believe that text exchange was not real between them for whatever reason, potentially even having been orchestrated between the two of them?
Look, I understand the emotion behind this case. Charlie was my friend. He was your friend. He was assassinated in the most brutal way in a public forum where he was trying to have engagement with the youth of the United States of America. And while I was representing the White House at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11, we made the decision to pivot immediately and fly out to Utah to make sure we executed this manhunt. We went out there, the FBI seized the video evidence and put it out to the public immediately. And then this individual was caught in 33 hours. And so I understand that there's so much charged emotion on the other evidence that was collected, the notes that you were talking about, the text message, excuse me. And we present that information to the prosecutors to make the determination based on the evidence we have as to whether or not they were real. I can't stylize or comment on it because it's an ongoing investigation, but I don't believe the prosecutors in the state of Utah would be using any piece of information or evidence that was not credible.
Last but not least on Charlie, there were texts by certain trans individuals online before the assassination talking about something big is going to be happening, and then after he was killed saying, and there it is, leading many of us to wonder whether there was some sort of trans-Tifa connection to the murder, or at least maybe some tip-off to the community. Is that under investigation?
That is most definitely under investigation, and we've disclosed a lot of that to the prosecution, or all of it that we have, and they've made some of it public to include that he was in a relationship with an individual who was part of that community, and that he was engaged in communications with other individuals in that community. But as to how they relate to the prosecution, that's up to the Utah prosecutors to say, we need this in court.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of things that they can't necessarily share, right? They got to keep some of these things public. I also wrote down during the middle of it, Utah Police Department or whoever destroyed the crime scene immediately after, right? That's who was behind this. Like, they were already there. Whether that goes up to the Utah, because they've got all sorts of dirt right now coming out with the elections and everything else, likely tied to what happened in Charlie Kirk and them not protecting him. And now all of a sudden we're seeing this interesting amount of information showing how they've been fraudulent in a bunch of the elections in Utah. Yeah, we've got crazy stuff that's happening in the world. And, they keep telling us to blame Israel. Frankly, right, wrong, and different, whatever. I'm not trying to say I'm pro-Israel. I'm always pretty much in the middle of the road. And I'm the guy you get pissed at because I refuse to go binary on it, whatever the case. Here's Charlie Kirk talking about the same thing.
Thank you for coming, Charlie. And I had a quick question about anti-Semitism online. Another question here they asked about Candace Owens. And, I'm a big fan of you. I was a big fan of her. But she's obviously been going down this anti-Semitic bent. And through her, I'm kind of finding out about these other characters online, like Nick Fuentes. I'm sure you've heard of him. And these people, they've been active for a long time. And it seems like they've just been ignored, which is working. But now they're kind of surging in popularity. And as someone who I enjoy watching your debates, are they people you'd be willing to engage with and maybe shut them down in a way through a debate or something like that?
Well, I'm not going to debate Candace. But no, look, I'll debate anybody that shows up at our campus events first and foremost. But I do want to take what you say and extrapolate it. That there is a corner of the internet of people that want to point and blame the Jews for all their problems. Everybody, this is demonic and it's from the pit of hell. And it should not be tolerated, period. But it goes to a deeper, more structural problem of an entire generation that has economic resentment. They don't own anything. They're not getting married. They're not having children. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're staring at their screens all day long. And if all of a sudden your extrapolation of all that is, well, it's the Jews' fault, that is sloppy and shallow thinking. And not only that, they say, oh, it's the Jews' fault. Okay, let's kind of play this out. Well, tuberculosis, that used to kill about 1 billion people. It's a group of Jewish scientists that came up with the antibiotic that cured tuberculosis. How about CPR, the MRI machine? There's over 500 million lives that were saved over the last 50 years because of people that were Jewish scientists that were working on things. They'll never say thank you to the Jews, but they'll always say shame on the Jews. It's weird how that works. And finally, they always blame the Jews for stuff. Jewish people are an ethnicity. So therefore, definitionally, you have people that are secular, orthodox, religious, that are all over the spectrum. You're trying to blame an entire ethnicity for a singular problem. Hold on, let's take a step back here. Instead of that, what could you possibly do in your own personal life to improve your own state of being? If you are blaming 0.02% of the world's population for all of your problems, that is not going to be good for your soul. It's not good for your psychology. It's not good for your future in any way, shape, or form. And so I would just say this, that any young person that goes into this hyper online brain rot, you are serving yourself over to your own demise. You are serving yourself into a suicide mission that will not make you happier and not make you healthier. Instead, here's what your attitude should be. Your attitude should be like, I can't own stuff, I got it, can't own a home, that not getting married, I don't know who to date. And said, wow, the challenges are immense. I'm going to now overcome all those challenges and go on an adventure. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. I'm now not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a victor. I'm going to dig deep. This is still a great country. This is a free country. I'm going to use my agency. I'm going to use my ability. And I'm not just going to go point in the corner and be like, I'm overweight because of the Jews. Women don't want to date me because of the Jews. How about this? As Jordan Peterson would say, sit up straight with your shoulders back, follow the rules for life, make yourself interesting, learn something new every single day, and instead of pointing at a small group of people and engaging in this brain rot, become a better person. You'll be a happier and healthier, more joyful and productive person because of it.
Right on. And that's why I always talk about focusing on what we're trying to do, who we're trying to become, where we're trying to go. Not all this periphery. As fun as it is, I get it, but it is like the girlfriend. She's into this thing called Telesario, which is Telemundo, or the same thing as a soap opera, essentially. And she's been trying to break herself from it, and it's not even something I've been trying to get her to do, even though I laugh at her because I hate drama. I dislike drama so much. I refuse to be around it. I refuse to be around people that are full of drama. And so, instead of her trying to get involved in drama, she likes to watch a little drama, and now she's more involved with drama at work. She needs it. I don't know what it is. I don't understand. Women, I will never understand you. I swear to God. Anywho, I don't like it. I think it sucks. But we do find ourselves in this position where we're constantly, I don't even know where I was going with that. We want drama in our lives. We want to believe in the little funny, shiny thing, and it spins us off. That's where I was going. We lose sight of the bigger picture, especially for a lot of us that are actually doing this. Many of us are doing this to change the world. Many of us are involved with this to change the world, to be involved with this change that's going on. And if we get lost on the shiny thing, we're not actually working towards moving forward or, using the flashlight properly. Israel is just like everywhere else on this planet when we say it, like this is where the problems are. Yes, it's the Khazarians and there's Ashkenazis. Yes. And we've got all sorts of effed up people in our own governments. How many of them on our own local governments? Shit, how many of them actually manage in the grocery chain that you frequent? We all have the same here, but a lot of us want to focus on, that thing outside of ourselves. So I don't have it, so it's not my problem. But each one of us, it's our problem, or otherwise it's never going to get fixed. HUD reveals that they've been, the Biden regime anyway, gave illegal aliens a whole bunch of FHA-backed mortgages. These should not go to illegals. There was a lot of money that was spent on this, and they were still attempting to continue to do it. Obviously, this has been shut down. Here is Scott Turner, Housing and Urban Development Secretary.
We've heard the Vice President made a great point that I want to reiterate. There's a lot of ideas that are on the table as it pertains to housing affordability, and we're working on those, meeting day in and day out. And you all have alluded to some of those ideas that have been surfacing. But I want to put the axe head to the root. Over 12 million illegal aliens came into our country, which has put a great strain on our housing supply and affordability. During the Biden administration, Sandra and John, the housing policies, the open border policies, the economic policies were weak and really just deflated housing in our country. And so we've been working very hard at HUD to help with affordability. Number one, taking down burdensome regulations that have crippled development and crippled building in our country. And you talk about illegal aliens in our country, 59% of illegal alien households use one or more welfare programs in our country. And that costs us about $42 billion. And so just that alone is a tremendous strain. But there's good news on the horizon, as you've seen and reported. Regulations are coming down. Inflation is coming down. Mortgage rates are coming down. I believe right now mortgage rates are about 6% or a little bit above, which is 12% lower than the president when he came into office.
Deep state's coming down, too. Coming down. Big changes are coming, guys. Big changes are coming. I should have done Kitco since the markets are sort of closed right now. Let's see I'm just curious where silver and gold are at right now. At the moment, gold and silver. Here we are. So bid is 41.97 for gold. So it dipped under 42. Interesting. It's cool. Again, it just shows strength of the dollar, and really is 100% what gold is. Silver sitting at 58.27. We are still expecting a lot of jump on that. A lot of jump this year. So any of you guys that have gotten silver recently, you're going to be stoked. Any of you that haven't really jumped on the bandwagon, but you've got a 401k or an IRA, I highly recommend you consider getting out. The expectation on silver is gold, just to explain, gold will protect your wealth dollar for dollar, if you will. Like whatever you can buy, easy way to put it is whatever you can buy for one gold coin. This has been a consistent utilization. It's just a good example, so it helps people understand. Back in like 1913, one solid 1 ounce gold coin would get me a handmade tailored suit, like handmade, like really nice, fancy, nice handmade tailored suit. Today it will get you one. One gold coin. Back then it was about $30 or whatever. $30. Today, just almost $4,200. The big difference in price. It protected the buying power. I can get a suit. I'll be able to get a suit 2 years from now when inflation gets really insane. I'll still be able to get a handmade tailored suit. This might go for $8,000 at that point. Not because it's more valuable. It'll still buy you a hand-tailored suit. But because it held that buying power. So let's say you've got $4,200. Now it's a little under the minimum. I think $10,000 is the minimum. But if you've got some money in a 401k, let's just use small numbers to make it easy. Say you've got $4,200 in there. And you're like, what's that in buying power? That's a handmade tailored suit. If you transition that now into precious metals, tax-free, penalty-free, by the way, with my good friends at Goldco, you're going to turn that into buying power equal to that will hold that buying power. So you'll be able to get a handmade tailored suit 2 years, 3 years, wherever we finally take down the Fed and get our own treasury notes backed by precious metals. And you're already there, by the way. You're already there. You're already converted. And it's holding the buying power while we go through the crazy time. So as the dollar gets less and less valuable, the price of gold is going to go higher and higher. Now, to get to silver, just real quickly, there's a multiplier on this. They've been screwing with the paper contracts. There is a glut for it. It's used industrially. Gold's not. This is used industrially all over the place, and that's growing. There's a number of industries that do it, and they're having a hard time mining enough of it. There is an impending shortage coming at some point, especially when they realize that the contracts are bogus, that they're taking one coin and doing 20 paper contracts against it. That one paper contract should count for this. If you say, hey, I want the silver coin, they should be able to send it to you. They've literally got 20 paper contracts or some number against one coin. If all those people said, yeah, give me the coin, they couldn't. They'd literally have to buy 19 more coins so they could fulfill that one coin paper contract. That's going to kick in. There's a multiplier waiting in silver. So any silver you can get, again, it takes up more space. These are both 1 ounce coins. Big difference in price, 50 or 60 bucks, $4,200. They're both an ounce and they're both round, the same size. So it takes up space. That's one thing to think about, but silver is where the money's at. DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. What really matters too, so tax-free, penalty-free. Get out of that 401k IRA sideways. Get as much of that buying power protected. And then you can get it later. It's literally physical metals they're put into a trust. Okay? It's literally physical metals. They're literally yours. You can literally say, give me the metals, and that's considered a payout. Transfer sideways first. Get as much as you can before they penalize and tax you. Do that first. They're going to give you Goldco up to 10% free silver. Free silver. Up to 10%. On top of that, that's where the multiplier is. And some of your precious metals IRA is probably going to be based in silver. That's something I think you work out when you fill out all the data points. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system with as much buying power as you can. Easy way to think, look at what you could buy with the money that your thing's currently worth. Do you want to still be able to buy that same stuff after everything crashes? Yes, you want to do this. Even if you've just got a little bit, why don't you protect as much of it as you can? DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of that system while you can. Don't know how long we got, guys. Really don't. But the prices, there's a lot of movement in silver, and gold's just going to hold its own, okay? So no matter what, this is not where you go when the economy's great. So after everything happens, transition into the treasuries or buy stocks or buy tractor equipment or buy whatever with what you have. You're going to want to move it into something that actually can do work for you. But right now, you're protecting. Grand jury materials from Epstein's 2005-2007 federal case in Florida have been ordered unsealed by Judge Rodney Smith. We'll see how long that actually takes to happen. I feel like there's some major dirt inside there. I don't know if it's going to be groundbreaking, but I feel like there's some dirt in there. Judge blocks prosecutors' access to James Comey lawyer's email and data. Again, this is strange. District Judge Colleen Kohler Codley granted a temporary restraining order Saturday, blocking the Justice Department from accessing key evidence, emails and computer files from James Comey's friend and attorney Daniel Richman, potentially for derailing re-indictment efforts. What's so funny is Trump's lawyers were literally pulled into the J6 and stuff like that. It's just incredible. Richman alleges Fourth Amendment violations from the government's warrantless retention and search of his data seized in 2017 during a classified leak probe. So they probably got a FISA court to sign off on that, wouldn't they have? I don't know. Judge found Richman likely to succeed on his merits. They always say that even though they're going to lose. So we'll friggin' see. But there is this. Oh, cool. I got these together. I was worried I didn't. Just Human put this out. He's really into the illegal crap. But he says when a DOJ FBI IC document starts a sentence with moreover, pay attention to what comes next. And it says, moreover, an additional record discovered as part of this management review process was an original referral by the Central Intelligence Agency to former FBI Director James Comey, known as a counterintelligence operational lead, a CIOL? I don't know how they say that. The CIOL is believed to have been missing for several years, was dated September 7th, 2016, and contained intelligence related to the 2016 U.S. presidential election campaign. Sounds like it tied into the Russia thing, essentially. So, yeah, Comey's going down. And like Cash Patel saying, there's so much. I think they intentionally fed the bullshit stuff just to get everybody kind of already chipped, get the fish, kicking in the water when you throw in a thing of bread or something or whatever, get them fired up. Well, I think that's kind of what they're doing, getting them fired up. Republicans divided on how to address the rising health care costs. They actually had a couple interesting ideas in here. Hawley's saying, why should we make health care tax-free in this country? So he's talking about any health care you spend should be able to be written off. I like that idea. I mean, obviously, if you're getting any sort of government money, that shouldn't be. That should just, you shouldn't be able to write off money that you didn't have anything. But if you've got any out-of-pocket money that you're spending, they're saying up to $25,000, you should be able to write off. I love that idea. Because if by chance I do go to the hospital or doctor or nothing, or something, urgent care or something, like, all right, cool. At least I get to write off whatever I end up paying. And wonderful. Up to $25,000, that's pretty sweet, right? So that's an idea for a lot of people. Now, again, I understand there's people that are way sicker than that. I would first off focus on health, try to figure out ways to be healthier. I've got a great thing that's literally helping people lower their blood sugar numbers and everything. I'm telling you, that Feel Great products is awesome. OTFspecial.com. OTFspecial.com. Try to get rid. If you've got diabetes going on, I highly recommend you check out that system. You don't have to change anything, and you can do it, and you'll start to notice a difference. I'm telling you, it's a fantastic process. But so Holly said we should make it so we can write off some of that. That's a good idea. There was also this Pharmacy Benefit Manager Price Transparency Accountability Act that they've been trying to push through. Whatever, there's a whole lot of nonsense. I mean, not nonsense, but cool stuff. They're trying to adjust and fix Obamacare. Everybody's freaking out about the fact that in essentially, today's the 7th, so in essentially, 24 days, the end of the month's here. And, we all go over the cliff. So that's not true. Government's going to shut down one more time in January, by the way. That's more than when it's going to happen, because not only do we not have money to pay for a bunch of this stuff that they're talking about, and that's why Trump's doing tariffs, we literally are bankrupt as a nation. Literally. Nobody's getting any extra money right now. It seems, anyways. Europe's freaking out. Now they're suing companies again, there's some of these companies have just exorbitant amounts of money. Exorbitant? I don't feel like that word's right. Large amounts. Here is Speaker Johnson talking about Tim Walz, Keith Ellison led the Democrats states suing the Department of Agriculture for trying to determine how many illegals get welfare. I mean, just some of the stuff that has been done against this country to support people that shouldn't be here.
And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California and New York and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party, the leaders and the President of the United States. We are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats, and that's why we're so frustrated.
And that's why I haven't slept in 16 years. That dude's got like perfect skin. That said, again, lots happening. They're trying to get RFK Jr. to resign. Oh, man, I hope he stays. I love you, Bobby. I love you, buddy.
I said to them at that time, you've said publicly that I've been dishonest about that. Can you show us a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled safety trial for any of the 72 vaccines required for American children? And he made that show of looking through a file, and he said, well, they're back in Bethesda. And I said, will you send them to me? And I never heard from him again, so we sued the HHS under the Freedom of Information Law. After a year of litigation, they sent us a letter which is posted on CHD's website that acknowledges that they are now not able to locate a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo-controlled for any of the vaccines that are now mandated for children. These are zero liability vaccines. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think we need to be honest and we need to have good science. I spent 30 years trying to get mercury out of the fish in this country, and nobody ever called me anti-fish.
You talking about that band? I don't know. I've listened to a couple of their songs. All right. Not a huge Fish fan. I know I should. A lot of you guys are. I should actually try to feature them. Yeah, it's oddly a band that I've had friends that, like the Dead. I can dig the Dead, but Fish, I don't know why I didn't get into Fish. I don't know. I gotta check that out. Maybe I'll look into that today. We are finally getting the information that they've been hiding from us. It was one of the many reasons why they were freaking out about Kennedy getting into the position he had, because of the company he had where they literally were suing the government for these records, and they were hiding some of those lawsuits. And they wanted to kind of almost make sure that when you get in there, you're not going to necessarily, bring your stuff to the surface, right? Which is one of their biggest concerns. And of course he is. You freaking smoking crack, Senator? Please. The sphincter says what? Huh? I don't know. It happens. Texas law allowing ivermectin to be sold over the counter goes into effect. Hell yeah. Shoot, I can go get myself a six-shooter. Yeah. And some ivermectin, all in the same, and in the drive-through liquor store. Shoot. Move to Texas, people. There's a lot of jobs out there too, by the way. Now, again, if you're coming from California, stop being a dick. Stop trying to make Texas California, please. I live here, California, where it's still very California. Journal retracts ghostwritten Monsanto study claiming glyphosate is safe. Here's another case. Major journal finally took down this story because they realized and found out that Monsanto not only paid for it, but also had huge amounts of insights, if you will. Let's see, how do they put it? The decision has been made after careful consideration of the COPE guidelines and thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the authorship and content of this article, and in light of no response having been provided to address the findings, the journal stated. Litigation in the United States revealed correspondence from Monsanto suggesting that the authors of the article were not solely responsible for writing its contents, and contributions by Monsanto employees were not disclosed, including in the acknowledgments section of the review. Journal also said that the authors may have been paid by Monsanto, which was not disclosed. The regulatory toxicology and pharmacology had been frequently cited in defending glyphosate and ingredient in Roundup, including citations on Wikipedia, researchers said in a paper published in September. Since 2017, multiple juries have concluded that Roundup exposure has resulted in non-Hodgkin lymphoma in people. Bayer took over legal cases involving the matter after it purchased Monsanto in 2018, including a case that may be adjudicated by the Supreme Court. Yeah, this is one of the ones. This is going to be one of the ones we're looking out for this month, by the way. So there is some crazy stuff going, guys. Exciting. Canada estimated to have killed nearly 100,000 of its own citizens through their assisted suicide program. I don't know. Curious how you guys feel about that one. That's a fun one. Throw out there in chat land. Canada's medical assistance is dying. MAID. What's that stand for again? Whenever medically assisted inside yourself death. I don't know. In vitro? I don't even know. Something. It's in there. I feel like it's in there somewhere, but it really doesn't matter that much. Not jumping out at me. Whatever. Who cares? That's sad. They're killing a bunch of people. I don't know. They got a population of what? Probably around 40 million at this point. 41 million or so. So yeah. I mean, 100,000 people. It's a dent. They're trying to do it to save money. That's the sad part. Hey man, just think about how you can help everybody and kill yourself. Like that's wow. That's pretty harsh. That's like bullying. French government is going to plan to label news outlets. Well, it kind of backfired on them. A lot of people basically calling them out for being les bastards, les douceaux, les merde. I don't know, whatever. I don't speak any, the voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir bullshit, or je m'appelle Dan. Really, that's about as far as I can go. And croissant, and I just say it like a douche, and they'll be like, oh, that's very good. You sounded exactly like us. Probably, of course not. I know, for all the people out there, like, you didn't sound French at all. Shut up. You're so French. I swear, only you would say that. French soldiers open fire on drones threatening high-secure nuclear submarine base. A few weird points in this story that I'm not sure how I feel about. So there's this submarine base. Of course they're blaming Russia. Let's just throw that up in front. I don't want to try to bury that. That's duh. All right? They're trying to blame Russia for these drones, these mysterious drones. They come out of nowhere over in France, and they're at a key nuclear facility, which unquestionably would be an enormous act of war. Rather ballsy, certainly something Russia, I don't think they need to do it, frankly. I just don't think they need to. If anything, they've got a Poseidon torpedo sitting in the harbor of this place already, and, there you go. They don't need to worry about that. But there's that. Second, drones were flying over this thing, and they were using anti-drone technology, and apparently were not able to down these interesting craft. Now, again, we had the whole East Coast thing where the crazy craft going on. Nobody knows what they are. They're supposedly still happening, too, from what I understand. There's obviously drone technology being utilized on this planet that's most likely man-made. Could be underwater capable, too, I'm sure. But it is definitely, without a doubt, happening all over the place. Now, they're trying to cause people to freak out, think all sorts of, again, here we were thinking it was China. Remember, there's a mothership. We've thought it's UFOs now coming out of the water. So again, they've all sorts of crazy shit they're trying to get us to think. And now over here, it's Russia. It's obviously the same people in general, right? It's the Jews. It's obviously not. Anyways, funny as hell to me. So that's the other thing, okay? We got these drones, and they can't seem to bring them down, okay? What's also interesting is France has 4 of these nuclear submarines that have ballistic launch tubes, 4 of them, and at any one time, they've always got 1 actually out floating around protecting them, being a threat. Let's not nuke France because their 1 submarine that we know exactly where it's at might get us. 1 of 4. Really? I don't know. I get they need maintenance and stuff. Don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an idiot. I get that. But really? You got only 25... Do we have 75% of our fleet at home? I feel like carriers, there's always a few of them at home, but most of them are out. And submarines, I feel much the same. I know they come back. I had a cousin that was stationed on one. They came back for a few months, and they'd go back out for a number of months and come back for a few months. Sometimes a few weeks, depends. Japan and Australia urge calm after Chinese radar locks. They're doing some crazy stuff, man. They're doing some of that Top Gun shit going on out there. China is being very, very aggressive right now in They're pushing hard on the Philippines, who kind of come down close to those islands, close to Taiwan, the northern parts of Philippines, and then they've got these islands scattered up even further north, which puts them very close to Taiwan. Japan also has islands that dip way down close to Taiwan. China's become very aggressive of these island chains and taking back land that's been typically known to belong to Japan and the Philippines. So China's being kind of weird right now. Well, we think they're getting close to launching an attack on Taiwan right now. Philippine patrol plane, same issue. They had a Chinese plane drop some flares in front of it. It was on a routine patrol. It supposedly kept doing what it was doing. So again, nothing too crazy has happened yet. But China is expanding the site that they're assuming is where a lot of the staging is going to occur for the attack in Taiwan. Now, what I am assuming Xi and Trump talked about when they finally talked was like, we know you're going to know that we're going to attack Taiwan. You can't tell them, though. And so I don't know how Trump handles something like that, but something to that effect, or at least the idea that, like, dude, we're going to know when you're doing this. There's no way you're going to secretly load a bunch of tanks onto ferries without us knowing. Guarantee that's not happening. Even if unless they suddenly create nation-sized fog machines, which could happen. I would not take that away from China. They would definitely do something like that. So who knows? We've got crazy going on. Iran launching some live fire drills, shooting some missiles. Iran launches live fire drills. They've shot some missiles. Nonsense. Nothing too good, nothing too great, but something. Now everybody's making a big deal about it. They're like, see, they've got their missile program back. First off, maybe. Second off, doubtful. Third off, these are probably some missiles they had lying around still that we didn't blow up. But whatever. They don't have their nuclear program back by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think we'd let them, and it certainly can't happen that quickly, especially as deep underground as they got to go. So this is a bunch of nonsense news meant to be like, oh, Trump didn't accomplish anything in Iran. That's what this is for. And it's just BS. Yeah, they had a live fire drill. They literally had one missile that they could waste. It's blue, too, by the way, which I don't know. Typically, blue is test, right? So maybe they had a test missile lying around. Whatever. Zelensky systematically sabotaged Ukraine anti-corruption efforts. This dude's... The truth is just coming out about him. They fired that number 2 guy below him, barely, but the dude ran everything. They think he was literally the key negotiator in the peace process, and now that he's gone, Ukraine seems to be, we're hearing, heading down the path of accepting peace. Everything's really clenching around Donbass, Crimea, losing that territory, and in some cases losing some territory that maybe they've got troops in currently that they haven't necessarily had to be killed yet, but are places that voted to want to be a part of Russia. So ultimately, that's what this all comes down to. And if he's not willing to agree to that, which would save a lot of lives, then it just forces Russia to continue the onslaught that Ukraine is losing. Trump and us, we don't have the missiles to give. Obviously, other administrations before wanted to weaken the United States and have successfully done so. But Trump obviously cares about us and doesn't believe in that at all, right? So we've been strengthening things. Now, Russia launched an attack on Ukraine amid the peace talks. People are trying to make it sound like, oh, I can't believe they're talking about peace and he's attacking them. Of course he is. He's going to keep that fucking pressure up. I'm not letting down. Again, right, wrong, and different. I want the fighting to stop, but I get totally what's up. You can't just stop. You need to keep going. Or here's the thing. It's like, I'm just going to take over that land that we're questioning. I'm literally going to take it over anyway. And then what? Maybe I'll drive all the way into Kiev at that point, or Kyiv. We'll see. SpaceX trademarks filing their new Starlink mobile. They're going to have a new mobile phone, it sounds like, which is cool. There was a question as to whether or not Musk was going to get into the cell phone world. Well, it looks like he is in a very cool way. That makes sense that he'd do it that way. So, yeah, we'll have a Starlink phone available to us. And just finally, a weird-ass crazy story. I don't know, it popped up in a few places. I'm like, I guess I should bring this up. I don't know. It's a messed up story. I just don't like, it's weird. Anyway, this woman, she went up with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend was just like a supposed, like, amazing mountaineer, right? And they went up some crazy mountain. What mountain is it? Grossglockner. It's the country's highest peak. He takes her up. They're literally 150 feet from the summit. And she, I guess, started getting hyperthermic and started freezing to death, basically. And he literally just, like, let her die, and then just walked down the mountain without her. Just left her dead body up in the mountain. I mean, again, I what are you going to carry her down? I don't know if he told somebody when he got down there, but whatever the case is, they're going after him. But yeah, she was in bad shape, I guess. 2 a.m., the defendants left his girlfriend unprotected, exhausted, hypothermic, and disoriented about 50 meters below the summit cross of the Grossglockner. The woman froze to death. Sad, right? I don't know why I shared that. I don't feel like I should have. Still, whatever. Look at the other camera. Hey, let's have a happy weekend. Again, a lot of weird, crazy stuff's going on, guys. So be ready, be prepared. It's going to happen as quick as it can. A lot of that's up to us. Sun's doing some crazy stuff. We're going to keep tabs on that. Our magnetic fields weakened, so that will affect our experience of it. That's for sure. So we'll see southern latitudes likely seeing some aurora borealis again. Again, a lot happening, and be prepared. That's all I can say. Be prepared. Make sure you can handle being healthy. And some of you guys, you might have a hard time getting meds, so make sure you got a little backups of meds, because that's going to matter too in the big picture. I love you guys. Stay strong. Keep pointing that flashlight where it needs to be pointed rather than that stupid stuff. I love you guys. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.